So moving away from the talk on the expanded universe and legends, I want to talk about something that's kind of been irritating me for a while, and it's something that I think you guys more than any will kind of take an issue with: the comparisons between The Force Awakens to the original Star Wars movie, or the subtitle A New Hope.
Yeah. This is actually one area where, like I said, I can kind of understand this as a criticism, but I think that it's a very overblown criticism.
So as it stands right now, there are a ton of people out there who believe that this film is devoid of any originality whatsoever. It is, as one of our friends coined, a New Hope 2.0, because it...
New Point 2.0, a New Point 2.0.
boy, man.
Boy! Shoutouts. Boy!
Shoutouts to the unnamed tree.
What's up, Groot?
I thought it was a tree that got cut down and burned on Starkiller.
Oh.
Oh.
Dang, man. I wasn't going to go there, but you just...
Keep them gloves up, Alex.
Yeah, man. So a lot of people out there have been pointing out comparisons between The Force Awakens and A New Hope. A lot of people are saying that this is nothing but A New Hope for 2015. What is your guys' take on it? Because for me, as a dude who's only watched the movies, I can definitely say that there are some similarities between the two. For obvious reasons. I think anyone who's seen both of them will agree with that. But I don't think it's as much of a retread as a lot of people are making it out to be, saying that, oh, it's just the same thing, except you swap out, the Death Star for Star Killer, and you swap out Luke for Rey, and you swap out R2-D2 for BB-8, and there you go. It's just a carbon copy of the first Star Wars movie, and you're just paying money to see it look prettier. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it's completely overblown? Do you think there's some validity to it, or what?
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I'd rather have this than another special edition, but hey.
Yeah, clearly you're about to make the same joke. I was going to say, I heard about Star Wars 2.0. It came out in 1997, right? It's called a special edition? Yeah. A New Hope 2.0. Yeah.
But the thing is, there are some story ticks in this movie that are similar to past movies, and the funny thing is that the movie is aware of that. It's actually kind of meta that way. I mean, when they do that size comparison, Han's like, when he hears how Starkiller Base works, he's like, oh, so it's like the Death Star, and he's like, I wish this is the Death Star, and then they superimpose that this is Starkiller Base, and he's like, okay, so it's bigger. It's like, I mean, they got meta about that, and they kind of acknowledge that, yeah, they're doing some of the same stuff, but there are reasons for that. One of them is basically Reassurance, because one of the big things that really turned people off in the prequels was that it seemed to be abandoning a lot of what Star Wars was about for the sake of a lot of, interpersonal drama and politics, and the worst part is that it was handled mostly by a really, really, really bad actor. I mean, this was partially done to kind of reassure people that, they remember the spirit of the original films. They remember what made those so good. They remembered what made them great, what made them, so serious, and yet, they didn't take themselves super seriously.
This is again to make things right.
Yeah, and basically, and it also kind of, I mean, they did it in a way too that doesn't necessarily feel like it's just an empty retread. I mean, there is a reason that the First Order is a lot like the Empire. The old Empire. They want to be. They want to restore that glory. They want to make the Empire great again. And
Wait, what did you just say?
Yeah, you heard me, Donald Trump.
Oh boy. Continue.
Kylo Trump there wants to make the Empire great.
All Hux wanted to do was make the galaxy great again. Shout outs, Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah.
I know, right? And I love Pablo. I mean, my big thing with it. Oh, sorry, Daniel, you weren't finished. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, there were some things that, like I said, were similar, but at the same time, they're handled very differently. It's almost a lot of times a complete inversion of what happened in like A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like Rey, Luke was kind of a whiny kid, and he just really wanted to leave Rey's the opposite. She's actually a very strong-willed, you know, very
You can say it. Strong,
I don't want to
independent
say
black woman. There you go, bro.
uh, I don't want to say she's like content, but she's not like whiny or anything. She's very mature but see, she's like the opposite. She when she finds out about the Force and everything, she wants nothing to do with it. It scares her. She doesn't want to get off Tatooine, or in her case, Jakku. She wants to go back. She's scared to leave it because she doesn't want to miss what could be waiting for her there. And I mean, she is literally like an almost exact character and version of Luke Skywalker from A New Hope. The only traits that they really have in common is that they have some gifted Force capability and quite a bit of mechanical know-how, which makes sense for both of them given what they've done their whole lives. I mean, it's stuff like that. And Kylo Ren, it's like, oh, he doesn't want to be Darth Vader. Duh!
It's in the trailers. Duh! It's in the trailers. I'll finish what you started. Come on now.
It's everything about him doesn't want to be Darth Vader. He doesn't need that mask. No, he doesn't. But you know what? We didn't know Vader needed that mask at first either when we first saw him. We didn't know why he wore that armor.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, technically, Vader did even wear the mask when he first became Vader for like the first, I don't know, first, good couple hours of him being, good 24 hours of planetary rotations here and there of being Vader. He didn't need the mask. He had that, flowing hair thing and, that hatred. Yeah.
Oh, please, enough. Enough.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Anyway, but, God, he was so...
Liar! You got him here to kill me!
I loved you, Anakin.
The way his voice would crack. Oh my God, Ewan McGregor. Oh,
I loved you like a brother.
I have so much more respect for that man. The fact that he was able to keep up that emotive, delivery and everything, despite working next to one of the worst actors. Period. It's just amazing.
I mean, with that whole thing though, too, with that comparison, Adam Driver did a good job of channeling a very similar performance to Hayden Christensen when it came to some of his line delivery. Like the line I just said, the liar. You play that, and then you play his line in the final fight with Finn and Rey, and when he calls out Finn, he's like traitor. That's the exact same delivery, and
except it's done better.
It's done better, but it's because of his facial expressions. But along with, I mean, if you look at some of these shots, and this is where it comes down to J.J. Abrams, though, too, some of the shots of Adam Driver as Kylo Ren in those scenes are so reminiscent of Anakin right when he and Obi-Wan are fighting, and it's to me, that's the first time that I can sit here and it's beautiful to see that Anakin in him, because in universe now it works. Whereas before, you were just kind of like, this is what we have. Okay, I don't care.
So it's kind of like somebody who watched the prequels and thought to themselves, man, I could do this better. This deserves better. And it's like, oh, wait, here it is.
Yeah, see, J.J. Abrams not only did a nice homage to the original trilogy, he remade the prequels better than George Lucas. But I digress.
Going back to the parallels and similarities between the two, one thing I've noticed is that it definitely does seem like people are painting with a pretty broad brush with the similarities.
Definitely. I mean, a desert planet, so it's the exact same planet, they're the same age, so they have to be the same character. Finn is clearly supposed to be like Han Solo, except not.
Maybe in very slim roundabout, close my eyes, squint a little bit. If anything, Finn's character is similar to the EU backstory of Han leaving the Empire. If anything, that's it to me, at least. Because the biggest thing that ticks me off about all these comparisons is nobody sits here and does that for the Phantom Menace.
Oh, that is
you're
true.
Using the same
yeah.
I mean, the Phantom Menace.
Same brush. It's the exact same. Tell me, some of those people are like, oh, well, it's just another Death Star. Well, what was the droid command ship? What was that? It literally was just the middle part of that ship is a literal carbon copy looking of the Death Star.
The only thing it didn't have was the inverted nipple for the laser to shoot from.
Exactly. and that thing was blown up by our hero, right?
Who
Anakin
flew into
Skywalker.
a narrow little passageway and shot the core and then flew out.
And the boy's on a desert planet, and he aspires to want to do greater things, but he's more similar to Rey in the sense that he doesn't really necessarily want to leave because he wants to stay with his mom. But at the same time, I'm like, that's pretty similar, guys. You have an R2 unit that saves the day, which it is both R2D2 in these cases because that's I mean that's my whole thing with it. It's like if we're gonna paint so broadly on our comparisons, then we might as well sit here and say, oh wait, I get why it's similar because it's a Star Wars movie, and Star Wars movies are supposed to be similar to one another because. Because George Lucas originally for 1, 2, and 3 is supposed to parallel slightly in some scenes and some imagery 4, 5, and 6. 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6. Makes sense that 7 would kind of continue on the tradition slightly.
Mm-hmm.
It does. But I wish people would get it right when they talk about the way Starkiller Base is destroyed. It is not a direct copy of friggin' A New Hope. It is clearly a complete and total ripoff of Episode 6 when Wedge and Lando destroyed the second Death Star by flying right into the core and blasting out the power coupling.
Yep, that's very true. Because that's so true though, because they do the trench run, but I think the greatest thing about that whole thing that makes it different is that if we had just had an X-wing fight at the end, the Resistance would have lost and the base would have been blown up. Because what actually even gave them that opportunity was the people on the ground, was our valiant hero Han Solo and Chewbacca. Sorry, Chewbacca and Han, who helped us out. Without them, it wouldn't have happened.
You gonna be all right there? You be all right there, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're here for you, man. We're here for you. Danny, huddle around. We gotta console our boy. I don't think he's doing too well.
Oh man, it's still
my
surreal.
dad. I wanted to get my my pilot's license because I had related to the best star pilot in the galaxy. He was touched, but I was meeting Darth Vader.
Oh boy.
It's well, okay. That kind of ties into another complaint though that I want to talk about later. But realistically, if you're gonna try to be a hipster and talk about how it clearly ripped off from something, at least get the movie it clearly ripped off, right? I mean, right down to flying through that narrow passageway, hitting the core and flying back out. That was straight up, Return of the Jedi, not A New Hope. Now, come on.
And that's what I thought made it so good, though, was that it fused A New Hope, Empire, and Jedi all in one. And that's kind of why I think I came to my conclusion that I enjoy it the most out of all of them, even though I still love seeing Luke be a badass.
True.
Oh, God. I need to see more badass Luke. If Luke needs to just come in and take on an entire friggin' brigade all on his own and just wreck things. I mean, there is a reason, okay, that Snoke and the First Order are so terrified of Luke Skywalker, and I want to see it.
Since we're talking about things that are similar and have parallels, let's talk about Kylo Ren.
Oh, Kylo Ren.
You mean the very well-developed character that everyone keeps on saying is nothing but a whiny, weak pansy because he lost to a learner and to a stormtrooper?
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about for a bit, because when it came to me seeing the movie, I didn't buy much into the hype, as you guys know, when it came to The Force Awakens. So Kylo Ren, I was like, okay, he's the big baddie of the movie. Let's see what he's all about. I see what he's all about. I walk into the theater and I'm like, he was kind of weak. Which Danny proceeded to say, bro, you got issues. And I was like, I think he was weak. And I started thinking more about it. Like, why was this guy weak? Well, he wasn't Darth Vader, obviously, but if you watch the movie, it's pretty clear that he isn't Darth Vader. And there are actual scenes in the film that explain this. This guy has a lot of internal problems. He has a lot of struggles that he is dealing with throughout the movie. And one thing that I've noticed more than anything, and what really got me thinking about the future, this goes back to leaves you with more questions than answers, is this guy's mental state. The fact that he is so unstable. Do you guys think this is going to play a major role going forward?
You know, you would think in the day and age now where people like, oh, when a Marvel film comes out and there's things that are left completely open, they don't complain.
Right.
You think people would not complain now, but they bash and they're so quick to jump. If people were to see Darth Vader in A New Hope, what would their idea be of him? Oh, he struck down a guy and then he's a pansy. He couldn't take down this little Luke Skywalker pilot, this guy who just started using the Force. I mean, there's an episode 4 similarity if you want one. But Kylo Ren, I think moving forward, this character, I I had no expectations about what to think about this guy before the film. All I knew was that in my head, I was guessing that he was Han and Leia's son. I predicted that, and I was guessing that he had some past for it, but I just didn't know why. And I think that makes it so interesting and so cool to see what's going on with him, because out of everyone in the film, I think I really enjoy his character because he is so deep per se in comparison to what we typically see in some of our Star Wars characters. And people are going to be saying like, no, he's not deep at all. But it's like, no, he really is, because you want to. You think if you think to yourself like this is the son of Han and Leia, two of a lot of people's favorite characters from the original trilogy. So what happened that these two characters raised a a son that turned into this, that would go and he murdered his own father? How did he get to this point? Why is he getting to this point? Why is he so fascinated with his grandfather? Why couldn't Luke get through to him? Or what happened that Snoke was able to get through to him instead of Luke? What makes this whole thing happen? That's what makes this intriguing moving forward, because not only do you have these questions about Rey and about Finn, about the Resistance, about the galaxy, but this character, Kylo Ren. The Star Wars story originally was the story, as George Lucas puts it, it's about Anakin Skywalker, and it's it's his journey across. We talked about Luke, but really it's Darth Vader's story. I'm going back to tell these stories in the prequels. George Lucas was about Anakin. I It's as weird as it is to say. While I think the sequel trilogy, the story is about Rey, and this statement's going to stay true later on, but I think the story is really about the descendants of Anakin and what happens when you have that legacy thrusted upon you, and the expectations aren't, you don't know where to go with it, which was something that was done in the EU but handled very poorly, which now we can see I'm already seeing a very better and deeper handling of it, and it's quite interesting, just that whole character in himself.
That's an interesting perspective and a good point you bring up. Talking about the relation to Anakin, because one thing that I thought after watching the movie, I was like, okay, so it's going to be about him realizing that he's not his grandfather. But something I didn't anticipate at first was the whole legacy aspect of, hey, you are the grandson of this dude who, for all intents and purposes, almost conquered the galaxy. So it's like, what kind of impact would that have on you? Even if you're born like generations after the fact. It'll be interesting to see what they do. So, I mean, Kylo Ren was a character that I kind of had to look more into to actually appreciate what they're doing. And it's like you said, Adam, I don't understand how the Star Wars movies leaving questions unanswered is somehow a new thing. How characters grow and develop with later installments. It happened in almost every Star Wars movie. And it's funny because this whole, I guess it took a while for it to come into the mainstream because, let's be honest, the majority of the people stopped caring about Star Wars movies in 1983. Like, majority of people thought that was the last time they released a really good one. So since it's been a really long time since they've seen this style of storytelling, what makes this so weird is that the mainstream's already adopted that style of storytelling. The whole, episodic, We're going to talk about things here. We're going to talk about them later on. Some things we're going to leave small seeds here, and then they're going to grow in later films. Something that the Marvel movies have been doing since 2008. So we're almost 10 years into this, and people think that this is somehow a new concept, a new phenomenon. But there is another thing I want to talk about Kylo Ren. And you guys mentioned it when you were going past it with the character description. The final fight scene between Ren, Finn, and Rey in the forest. And why everyone proceeds to call him a spiny little pussy. He couldn't win against someone who's not really all that force sensitive. How this guy he was training, blah, 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 blah.
I could rant on this. So I can get on this from a dialogue point to an action point. I mean, it's so crazy. And real quick before either Danny or I even tackle this first, Chris, something I want to say to what you just said about that style of filmmaking. When it comes to Star Wars, the crazy thing is when you think about it, this is the first time that there's been a Star Wars film made that you don't know what's going to happen. So that's why people are irritated. Because you could go see 1, 2, and 3, and you know no matter what, Obi-Wan lives, Yoda lives, Anakin lives.
True.
You know what happens. Now it's like, oh, well, all these people are alive, or kind of alive, or are they alive, or where are they going? Who's going to go where? Who's alive how? Why is this person so weak? Shouldn't he be strong? I'm confused.
Yeah.
I need an adult.
And I think that
But like,
killed Danny.
I was like, Danny, like, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go on this?
I've been waiting to go on this since when a couple of minutes ago. Okay, here's the thing: when it comes to Kylo Ren and all these people that keep talking about how and foremost, I mean, we have to consider a few things. Number one, the guy's able to stop a blaster bolt and keep someone completely paralyzed in midair. I mean, like you try to move, you can't move. He literally holds you there with his mind. He doesn't even have to be completely focused on you. He just holds that thing there, and he's just focusing with the back of his mind, and you're not able to move. And then finally, when he lets it go, boom, that thing winds up flying forward and slamming into the I don't want to say fountain, but like the pillar in the middle of that village. I mean, he is clearly capable. It is very clear throughout the entire film that he is capable. He actually gets mad and drags a man across the room into his grip. I mean,
what girl? That's the line he says. When he
Okay, I but I mean, he drags a man across the room like that. He can hold you in place like that so that you can't even move. It is like he gets you in a vice grip. He is very powerful. Now, here's where there's also a problem, though. A lot of people think that because he's done that and because we haven't seen that in Star Wars before, therefore means that he is actually the most powerful dark side user that has ever existed in the movies. That is actually diffused within the film when it's revealed when Rey looks into his mind while he's trying to look into hers, that she sees his fear that he's never going to be as powerful as Darth Vader. He is not on Vader's level yet, and he knows it, and that scares him because he wants to be. And he isn't yet, and it bothers him, and it feeds into his insecurities. But when it comes to him, quote unquote, losing against Finn and Rey, I mean, you have to consider the fact that Chewbacca's bowcaster, seen in the film, is capable of literally lifting an armored stormtrooper off his feet when it impacts. When it was fired into the ground next to two of them, the shockwave and the shrapnel alone that it kicked up not only sent them both flying, but killed them. I mean, that is a very powerful weapon, and the reason Chewbacca wields it so well and makes it look like it's a bit less heavy than it is because he's a Wookiee. When Han picked it up, not only could you really get a feel of how big that is, but how powerful it was too. It even kicked him back. So the fact that he took a shot from that thing right in the ribs and not only stayed on his feet but got back up and kept trying to fight, that right there is testimony to not only his physical prowess but to his willpower. And the fact that, I mean, people also have to realize he did fight Finn first, and Finn, while not, being force sensitive, he is a trained stormtrooper, and they did train with weaponry that was very similar to the lightsaber. I mean, you saw the riot baton that that stormtrooper had. He was trained how to use. He was trained to use weaponry like that. They had maces. They had what almost looked like spears. And they were designed specifically for not only, pacification of riot gear, but also pretty much designed to fight a lightsaber, since they made it pretty clear that Luke Skywalker was one of their chief targets. So Finn does have training, and he actually did receive some pretty high scores in his training. The reason that he didn't do it so well, okay, how do I say this? He scored well in terms of combat. It's the reason that he would often underperform is because he didn't like the idea of leaving comrades or civilians behind or in the line of fire, which was frowned upon by them because they wanted to singularly focus on the mission. But when it comes to combat, Finn is trained. Which, when you say, oh, he was able to hold his own against it, it's like, yeah, he did for about 5 minutes, but that's because he's a trained combatant. Now, there's this other thing, Rey, she's supposedly able to easily defeat Kylo Ren, easily defeat him, wield the lightsaber like an expert, even though she pretty clearly wasn't. When she when she faced him, he currently had not only a big hole in his side that was dripping blood. Well, it's not even just a hole; it's a big burn, while it would be partly cauterized because it is a laser blast, not completely, so it's bleeding, and it's a burn. Which, if you've ever been severely burned, you know how much that hurts. Constantly, like not even every once in a while, not even only if you touch it. It is constant, agonizing pain until you get it treated. So he's having to fight through that. He's having to, and then you got Finn slashed him across his sword arm, his right arm. He's right-handed. So that's going to limit his capability right there. I mean, he is not weak. He's anything but weak. And the scary part is when you find out that he's able to do all that and his training isn't even complete yet. He's still in the apprentice stage.
The things Danny covered almost all the points. I would say too. Without going into speculation, first off, I'm on backtrack. I'm gonna go from his last point and move back along. When it comes to Rey, we see that she uses a staff as her weapon for defense on Jakku, and she even takes that with her at the end of the film when she goes and meets Luke. So I've been trained in Taekwondo and I have done karate before, and I've also learned weapons. When you learn how to use a long staff, let me tell you, that's pretty good training, a precursor to learning how to wield a sword, lightsaber. If you notice the way she swung the lightsaber, she swung it very similarly to how you would wield a long staff, except for the fact that she can't really hold it like a long staff because, well, there's only a hilt and then there's a blade. And then similarly, when Finn's fighting style is like a riot control stormtrooper that's using that staff, using that because that the baton, because the baton, if you notice, the way in which he striked was the exact same way that you would be able to strike with that baton only. So both of them, in terms of what they do with the lightsaber, is very much within the realm of possibility of what they know and what they have already accustomed to doing. Now, jumping further back, besides the injuries that Kylo Ren sustains during that fight, jump back to the moment with Chewbacca. Yes, the blast room, but let's jump back to even before that. Then this is something this also involves his character. The whole line that Kylo Ren says there in that whole thing, where he's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Will you help me? To Han. One, people are completely confused on that and thinking that it's him lying to Han, when in all honesty, it's the truth. He is completely torn because the calling from the light, which there's my potential different reason to it, but the calling from the light is he doesn't want to kill his father because he does love Han, kind of. And even though they had a bad past, he doesn't want to kill his father because he doesn't really know if he has the strength to do it. But because of what his goal and his mindset is, it is the right thing for him to do to kill him so that he can attain this power that he wants. But the crazy thing that happens to him and realization is in that moment, instead of it making him more powerful like he hoped it would, it has done nothing but brought him pain. It has weakened him, and thus he's already weakened mentally, and this character is already mentally unstable. And so think about this for a second. Imagine like you have a goal in mind, right? And you're like, this is the goal I need to do. I know I need to do this. It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna go and do it. And you go and do it, and you try it, and as soon as you achieve the goal, you realize, wait, this doesn't feel better at all. This isn't helping me at all. That's going to kill you mentally. So mentally, Kylo Ren was taken a notch down after he killed Han, followed by getting shot by the bowcaster. Physically, he got knocked down on both levels, and the only thing that snapped him out of it was Chewbacca's yell, was the shot, and was the fact that his anger and the pain that he just sustained brought him to this point. Plus, Kylo Ren, in my opinion, is doing something very similar to Vader in that fight. When he's fighting Rey, he paused while he has her backed up against the cliff. You need a teacher. I can show you the ways of the Force. Kylo Ren does not want to kill Rey in that moment. He wants to back her into a corner where she will accept him and come with him so that he can train her, so that Snoke can train her, so that she can be on their side because he sees her ability. His master just told him, bring that girl to me. So his goal in that fight, you have to understand, when you're fighting defensively, it's a lot harder to incapacitate someone than it is to kill someone. When you're going someone with the intent to kill, like Rey kind of was, it's so simple because that's your goal. But if you're trying to defensively disarm or stop someone, I mean, because you don't want to cut her hand off because, like, I mean, you don't want to leave her in a bad position. You don't want taking something away from this person that you potentially could train into a fine, sharpened tool.
Plus, it would be so cliche.
That too, but you know, that's always saved for the second, fifth, and eighth film of the franchise where you lose the hand.
Yeah. But that by the way is another reason I'm not entirely convinced that I mean, everyone keeps insisting that Kylo Ren and Snoke have to be Sith, but it's like the very fact that they wanted the girl, you know, he wants the girl brought to him, the fact that they're pretty clearly willing to train. I mean, they're not abiding by the Sith code. They're not abiding by the rule of two here. I don't think they're Sith, but
Knights of Ren, Sith. Knights of Ren, Sith.
Exactly.
So where does Jar Jar Binks fit into the equation? I'm just curious.
He's dead.
Misa, the Dark Lord of the Sith. Misa's still alive.
Nah, he dead.
Misa gonna finish what you started, Annie.
I mean, I don't know about that, Danny. Never say never.
No. I mean, JJ was actually going to outright put his skeleton in the movie.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But Abrams doesn't like Jar Jar.
But going back to what I was also trying to say is, you know, all these faults that you can find with Kylo Ren from this first film, do I need to show you? Do I need to go back and point out all the problems with, of all people, let's see here, Darth Sidious in Episode 1? What'd he do? Nothing. In fact, his entire plan just completely falls apart, falls through, so far as you know. He seems like the most ineffectual Sith in history. But even going back even further than that, and yet not, I love prequels, is Darth Vader. I mean, when Vader appeared in A New Hope, what did he do? He stood there. He stood there looking menacing. He fought Obi-Wan in a sort of kind of not terribly energetic sword fight because otherwise the effects couldn't keep up. And
but in canon we could say, oh look, Anakin was like, let me toy with Obi-Wan because I really hate him, and this is an easy fight. Look at this old man. as you know, Kylo Ren says at the start of The Force Awakens, look how old you've become.
Yes, but back to the point at hand. I mean, you know, we didn't even really have a good grip on how strong Obi-Wan was. We didn't have a good grip on Jedi or Sith or anything, and yet, you know, nobody questioned the fact that, you know, why is Obi-Wan powerful? Because he's said to be powerful. Why is Darth Vader so powerful? He's said to be powerful. I mean, what did Vader do? Again, he was on screen for all of, what, 10 minutes? I think Tarkin was almost on screen as much or more than him.
Mm-hmm.
And Vader, he force choked a guy. He killed Obi-Wan, but only because Obi-Wan let him. And then what's he do? He gets in that TIE fighter and he shoots some people down. And then when he goes to go after Luke, how does he go out? Han Solo shoots one of his wingmen, and then he careens out of control and gets slammed into by the other one, and then goes flying off into space. completely unable to regain control until after the Death Star goes kaboom. I mean, that is literally how Vader went out in that movie. If we were to do then what we're doing now with Kylo Ren, we would have written Vader off as a complete joke, completely weak, ineffectual, just there to look scary and do nothing else. Why has he got that stupid breathing sound all the time when he's pretty clearly talking? And nowadays, though, because we've seen Episode 5 and Episode 6, we know exactly how scary and intimidating Vader is. We know why he's got that respirator going constantly. We know why he's so intimidating. We've seen the fact that he could even force choke a man to death from a ship that's like thousands of feet away. He is extremely scary. But we got that only in the second movie. If we were to judge Vader himself completely by the first movie, Vader would be nowhere near as iconic as he is. I think we need to stop trying to rush to judgment about these characters. And on that same note, one could also take a look at that as an examination of, Rey being a Mary Sue. I mean, when you take a look at Anakin was 9 years old, no Force training at all, and yet he was able to pod race. He could see things before they happened. He had inhuman reflexes. When you take a look at Luke, his sole experience flying was in repulsor craft, a T-16 Skyhopper on Tatooine. Not even a spacecraft. It didn't fly on its own. It was repulsor craft. It flew by, pushing itself up off the ground. And he would, shoot womp rats out there. That's not combat. That is in no way combat. Yet he gets in the next wing, and for the first time, he's actually flying alongside the aces. Flying extremely well. He saved his co-pilots. He did a run on the Death Star itself and actually blew out a few of the turrets.
And that what you said there, Danny, though, too, that's like one of the big things I don't think people realize. And this is the thing, when you look at a film franchise that's been around for next year 40 years, you forget what it would have been like when that film first came out if you were to examine it the way we do now. Luke actually gets the Force but as quickly as Rey, except he just doesn't get to have his own lightsaber duel. Because literally, here we go, New Hope 2.0, fine, so be it. Rey, in the moment when Kylo Ren, says, you need a teacher, I can show you the ways of the Force, that whole part is like the Force. And that moment, even the music cue is very similar in A New Hope to when Luke is in the trench run. He pulls up the targeting computer, and Obi-Wan says to him, use the Force, Luke. And Luke turns off the targeting computer and does nothing but use the Force to make sure that he shoots that torpedo correctly into the Death Star. Because here's the thing. If he had shot it just like with the targeting computer, same results as Red Leader would have happened. I mean, as Gold Leader, same would have been the exact results. That's how things would have went down. I think there's a lot of things that, people just don't appreciate anymore, don't see it as being powerful because it's the norm. It's the idea of like, oh, well, yeah, that's just what happened. It's supposed to happen like that. Because it's never been broken down like that before.
Tonight, finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonite.